How's it going, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be looking at this 2023 Bronco Sport. Now this particular Bronco Sport that we have today is actually the Big Bend trim. So you have the base, Big Bend, Heritage, Outer Banks, Badlands, and then Heritage Limited. And that pretty much goes in order of essentially like low to high for the trims for this year of the Bronco Sport. Now the 2023 Big Bend's initial MSRP was a little bit over $31,000, right at $31,230. It's the most popular trim for this 2023 Bronco Sport. And let me tell you, like, coming into this video, yes, it's not the full-size Bronco. I have still yet to do a review on one of those on my channel, and I wasn't really expecting much from this Bronco Sport, but when I was doing my research and now actually driving it, I do have to say it's probably a good option for someone that is definitely more of an outdoors person and likes to do things that include hiking and different things like on the weekends. And this particular Bronco Sport, the owner actually lives kind of down in a like beach community, and this is probably one of, if not the most perfect little trucks for like a situation like that. It's very comparable to your kind of smaller size two-door Wranglers. And obviously it is clearly much more affordable than the full-size Broncos. You do have that kind of cheaper drivetrain, but it still performs pretty damn well. I mean, this one is, again, like about a year old, I would say now. The owners had it, and they've got like a little under 14,000 miles already on it. So as far as reliability is concerned, I know some of the newer Ford models have definitely a bad reputation for reliability, so I can't really fully speak on that as of right now, considering that this model is so new, but only time will tell with a lot of these newer cars. Now, one of the most glaring differences besides its size between the Bronco Sports and the full-size Bronco is the full-size Bronco is a true dedicated like off-road kind of truck or SUV. It does have four-wheel drive, so it does have those two different yokes, whereas all the different Bronco Sports, doesn't matter what trim level you get, they are all-wheel drive. So keep that in mind. This is not going to have these same, you know, off-road capabilities as the full-size Bronco, which is quite obvious. But underneath the hood, you do have a 1.5 liter double overhead cam, 4 valve per cylinder, 3-cylinder engine. So it's a little baby engine, and I do have to say, while I was doing just some of the B-roll for this video, I honestly really like it. The main reason I do like it so much is the fact that it's not covered in plastic. You'll see as I edit the video and kind of put the B-roll like over me talking, everything is just out there in the open. So you kind of have your injectors, your air box, your intake manifold, everything is right there. And it is a little kind of small, like transversely mounted 3-cylinder engine. So if anything does go bad on it and you have experience fixing cars or whatever, it's probably very easy to work on. There's a decent amount of space in the engine bay as well. Now, this little 1.5 liter 3-cylinder engine is actually putting out a somewhat respectable 181 horsepower at 6,000 RPMs and 190 foot-pounds of torque at 3,000 RPMs. And it does have an 8-speed auto for all the different trims. And the fuel economy, I would definitely have to say, is lacking a little bit for something that is a 3-cylinder engine. It basically gets right around like 25 miles per gallon during city driving and 28 miles per gallon during highway driving, for a combined average of around 26 miles per gallon. Honestly, in some of the newer models that have like NAV6s that I've driven, like, they're really not that far off from these numbers. So it's definitely interesting, and I kind of wonder why, for a 3-cylinder, it's a little bit on that lower side of things, especially when you compare it to some of the other, I guess, 3-cylinder models that are out there. It's not bad, but it could definitely be better as a 3-cylinder engine. Now, despite those fuel economy numbers that I did rattle off, it does have a very, very impressive range between 400 and 448 miles when on a full tank of gas, and that is due to its 16-gallon fuel tank. And like I did say before, it's not going to have the same capabilities as a full-size Bronco, which is very evident and clear. But when it comes to towing, it does have a max tow rating of around 2,000 pounds and max payload rating of 1,170 pounds. So it definitely is very good if you have a smaller trailer and you go hiking a lot or whatever, and you want to like load up kayaks or just camping equipment. It could definitely be great for that. Or if you have a family and you're just basically looking for something that is good in bad terrain, bad weather, and can also have plenty of space. The one thing that this Bronco Sport does have is plenty of space, and one thing that I really like is the rear hatch is all manual. It's not an auto hatch, and even for the glass, everything is all manual. So there is a decent amount of trunk space in there, and it does have 2 rows of seating, so it's not going to be something like a full-size SUV or anything, clearly. Another thing I really like about this Bronco Sport, this one in particular, is its exterior paint color. It actually, I think it's finished in the azure gray. Correct me if I pronounce that wrong down in the comments below, but it's one of 11 different exterior color options for this specific year Bronco Sport. So there's plenty different options out there, and there's plenty different color combos and specs. However, this specific trim, the Big Bend, actually only has 2 interior color options, and this one has the gray/black cloth interior, and I do really like the design on the seats. And staying on topic of the interior, looking at the Bronco nameplate in history, Ford essentially brought this Bronco back with the Bronco Sport to compete with the Jeep Wrangler and having like a more outdoorsy, like smaller size SUV in the domestic market. And I would say that the Bronco has performed spectacular, both the Bronco and the Bronco Sport. Their sales numbers are definitely up there, and Ford is moving a lot of them. And I bring that up mainly because the Wrangler comes kind of factory out the dealership lot with the kind of rubberized WeatherTech-esque floor mats, and this Bronco Sport does have the same exact thing. Now, I did mention before, the owner of this Bronco Sport actually lives in a beach town, so you will see in the B-roll the floor mats are definitely dirty. They're really sandy, but again, at the end of the day, like, that's what this Bronco Sport is essentially made to do. It's made to go on a beach, and it's made to kind of do a little bit of off-roading. I also do really like the kind of black accents on the outside of the exterior of this Bronco Sport. I think it contrasts against that like lighter gray color very nicely. The door handles are blacked out. They're like all black plastic, and then the wheels are finished off in like a darker gray finish. Now, for this particular year of the Bronco Sport, they did come standard with 17-inch wheels. However, you could pay like $715 more and actually get the 18-inch wheels as an option. And switching topics now and talking about safety, if you're worried, if you're like in the market for this and it's kind of your kid's first car, these Bronco Sports do have a 5-star safety rating, which is definitely better than the full-size Broncos. The full-size Broncos only have 4 stars. So that definitely is one thing that the Bronco Sport does better than the full-size Bronco. And now looking at the interior, you do have, just kind of eyeballing it, like a 7 or 8-inch infotainment screen setup, and it is all touchscreen. You have your kind of music control, media control. You can connect your phone to it. You have navigation and a ton of different apps and features as well. It does come standard with the Apple CarPlay, so as long as you basically have an iPhone and you plug it in, you can use that. Now, staying on topic of the interior, with this Bronco Sport, one thing that I definitely do dislike is you kind of have that like dial for the gear selector and the electronic parking brake. I don't really like those 2 features. I know the electronic parking brake, you can see that a lot in a lot of different modern models, doesn't matter the manufacturer, and I just don't really like it that much. I understand its ease of use. And as far as the dial is concerned, I do like the dial design. It stays kind of on topic with a lot of your different buttons and how kind of knobby they look. And to be fair, it definitely is easy to use. You do have the low gear selector as well, so that is definitely a plus. I just don't really like it that much, and that's just kind of like my personal preference. I'm sure that some people really do like it. But now moving on to something that I do like about this Bronco Sport, looking further down in the center of the interior, you have a dial for the GOAT modes. Now, the GOAT modes, it's something that Ford branded for these new Broncos. It stands for going over all terrain, or go over all terrain modes. And you have the normal mode, eco mode, sport mode, slippery mode, and sand mode. And I do have to say, just kind of looking around the interior as well as the exterior, it's not the most, detailed or luxurious vehicle that I've ever driven on the channel. However, I do really like the kind of subtle details that you can find on this Bronco Sport. One in particular that I found while shooting B-roll for this is that there's a very kind of tiny, like little engraved Bronco logo inside the headlamps, like inside the headlight housing. And I think that is so freaking cool, because I mean, you're probably not going to notice it unless you drive it a lot or you specifically know about it. But I just think that that's so freaking cool, because again, I didn't even know that that was there until I was doing the B-roll for this video, and I just had to take a quick like clip of it because I thought that was so cool. So Ford definitely put a lot of effort and R&D into these new Broncos and Bronco Sports, and I know I've been comparing this Bronco Sport a lot to the full-size Bronco in this review, and I do apologize for that, but I do really like both of the new models. I love how Ford brought back the nameplate for the Bronco. It's definitely one of the most iconic nameplates that Ford has had in the entirety of its manufacturing history. But yeah, I really do like this Bronco Sport. It was a blast to drive today. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, definitely be sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe. All that stuff really does help me out a ton as a smaller car channel here on YouTube. And also, if you wanted to hear me like talk about something else or I missed something, definitely let me know down in the comments below. But that's pretty much just gonna wrap it up for me today with this new Bronco Sport. So I hope you all have a great rest of the day, and I'll see you guys in the next one.